Hey guys, it's Allie. Welcome back to Infertile AF, the podcast. This is episode 54 called Maddy. On this week's episode, I'm partnering with Geneve. Geneve is an online clinic dedicated exclusively to women. Geneve is all about women's health, and right now, as COVID-19 cases are filling up our medical facilities, Geneve is expanding their offerings to include primary care as well. If you need to talk to a doctor about perimenopause or menopause, Geneve is always there for you. But if you need to talk about prescriptions or other health concerns, Geneve can help with that too. You can access their doctors through their telemedicine services for safe, convenient, at-home consultations at geneve.com. That's GENNEV.com. Thank you, Geneve. Okay, so Maddy Gutierrez is so awesome. She is a body-positive Manhattan mom. She's a fashion lover, beauty junkie. She's got a great Instagram. She's got like 50,000 Instagram followers and a really fun blog. She talks about being plus size in the world of fashion and style and beauty and life in general. One recent feature she has on her blog was the plus size guide to Disney, which I thought was just very cool and something that you just do not find anywhere. So I'm going to talk to Maddy today about all of that and being a disruptor in terms of fashion and beauty and style. But also we're going to talk about her secondary infertility journey, which she is in the midst of right now. So she's going to tell us how she had her son, who is now 5.5, with virtually no issues. But for the last handful of years, she and her husband have been having a lot of problems with secondary infertility. So we're going to talk about all of that. And one really important thing that we're talking about that I haven't really talked about with anybody before is how Maddy's going to tell us how she's treated as a larger woman by doctors. It's a prejudice that she faces sometimes when she walks in and they immediately just say, well, obviously you need to lose weight. So it was very interesting, very eye-opening. I'm so happy that she was so candid about all of this stuff because I think it's a really important conversation to have. We also talk about COVID-19 and how that is affecting her cycle and her next steps. So super timely today. So thank you guys for listening. And without further ado, this is Maddy's infertility story. How are you guys dealing with all of this COVID-19 business?
Managing, not sure if those are the appropriate words to be using.
Yes. I know.
We're fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. You know, I'm trying hard to not be it's out of our control. So
yes, that's a good way of thinking about it.
I mean, it's hard. Obviously, like even the word hard in conjunction with staying at home is kind of silly. It's hard to stay home, obviously, because our regular lives, you know, that's what we're accustomed to, but it's also not hard to stay home. So I'm trying to remind myself, like, it is a privilege to stay home. It is a privilege to stay home.
Right. And yes. And even the things like, at least we have a home and we have shelter.
Right.
And so, yeah, I'll just say to kick it off, I don't know, we don't know each other very well, but I came across your Instagram and I can't even really remember how, but I just love it. I love what you put out there. I love the positive vibes. You describe yourself as a body positive Manhattan mom, which I love so much. Mm-hmm. You're super into fashion. You're always, you know, trying on clothes, and it's so fun to watch. And I just love your attitude. But also you say on your Instagram that you are going through secondary infertility.
In the middle of it. So I have a 5.5-year-old son.
Yes.
And we got pregnant with him super easy, no issues, totally fine. And now we've been trying for our second for almost 4 years. So
Okay. So yeah, I definitely want to get into all the details of that, but let's back it up a little bit and just tell me a little bit more about yourself. Where did you grow up and how did you meet your husband? Did you guys always know that you wanted to be parents?
Sure. So I'm originally from Salt Lake City.
Okay.
And growing up, I always knew that I wanted to travel the world and do something different. I didn't want to be stuck in my hometown for forever. Not that there's anything wrong with Salt Lake. I love my home. But when I graduated high school, I just decided to go for it and moved to New York, came out here as a nanny. And this is where I belong. I may not stay here forever. I never say forever or never because you just don't know where life will take you. But New York is where I feel like my best self, and at least in this stage in life. And so I moved out here at 18. I was, young and stupid as we are at that stage in our life. And yeah, it was amazing. It was so much fun. It was so new. It was, there's so much to do here, and it's the complete opposite of Salt Lake City.
Right.
And it was exactly what I needed as an 18-year-old young woman.
Did you know anybody out here, or did you just go by yourself?
No, I didn't know a soul.
Wow. So how did you even know where to begin? Like, what neighborhood did you know where to live?
Well, my first nanny job was actually a live-in nanny job. I went through an agency and found a family to stay with. And that's how I kind of started. And then eventually I got my own apartment, and yeah.
How was that nanny life?
Oh, there's pros and cons. I still am like one of my nanny families, the last family that I nannied for. She is now my best friend. Like, our kids go to school together. They're best friends.
Oh, that's great.
It's amazing. But then I was also a nanny for a mom on the Upper East Side for a while. Mm-hmm. Won't go into specifics, but everything you imagine that entailed.
Okay, you tell me offline later.
The drama.
We've all read the Nanny Diaries, right?
It was exactly that.
So then how did you meet your now husband?
We met the old-fashioned way in a bar. It was 2010, just like the beginning stages of things like Tinder and OkCupid and all that stuff. And I had broken up with my previous boyfriend about 6 months before. And I was like, I'm not dating. I'm not going to go on a dating app yet. Like, I wasn't going to do it. And I went out with some girlfriends, and it sounds silly, but my husband walked out of this bar, and I saw him, and I was like, that man is important. I don't believe in love at first sight even now, but I saw him, and I've had a few experiences like that with special people in my life, but I knew that he was important and that I needed to make sure that I knew him. And I've never approached a man in my life except for my husband. And I was like, hi, come hang out with my friends and I, please. Really? So I totally hit on my husband.
What was it about him that made him seem important?
I don't know. I have two friends who the first time I met them, I just knew that they were going to change my life. And the same thing with my husband. It's just this feeling of, I know not everybody believes in that, but kindred spirits, you just know, you don't know what their purpose is or how long they'll be in your life, but you just know that you're meant to meet some people or experience something, kind of like that deja vu feeling that you're like, oh my gosh, have I done this before? Mm-hmm. It's the same feeling. I just knew I can say three people in particular in my life. When I met them randomly, I just knew that I was supposed to meet them for whatever reason. So
I love that. So did he hang out with you and your friends? And then what happened?
For a while, before he's like, hey, I got to go. And, the next day he totally, I'd given him my number. And after that, we were inseparable for forever now. And it's been 10 years this year. So in the fall, we'll have been together for 10 years.
Okay. So then you said you have your son who's 5.5.
Yes.
And you didn't have any problems getting pregnant with him or anything?
No. So we moved to London for a little while for my husband's job. And I was diagnosed with PCOS when I was 20. And my doctor was like, FYI, you'll have a hard time getting pregnant. So, good luck to you.
Really?
20 years old, I was crushed.
Did that really crush you? Or were you like, oh, I don't need to worry about that?
I have always wanted to be a mom. I knew being a mom is what my ultimate goal was. I grew up in a large family. I've always loved kids, and I wanted to have a family of my own. So being 20, obviously I didn't want to have kids then, but to be told good luck whenever you decide, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was just rude. Some doctors really need to work on their bedside manner or their
Right?
delivery of things.
But did you know at the time what PCOS even was, or
I
had you heard of it
didn't. So I had
before?
just gone in for an annual exam, and my doctor ended up doing a couple extra tests and ultrasound. And she was like, you have PCOS. Like, it's very clear. I'm going to wait for your blood work to get back, but you have PCOS. And I was like, I was 20. It was my second annual exam.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anything that was going on with my body. When I started diving into fertility treatments, realized how uneducated I was about my body. And if I ever have a daughter, I will try my hardest to teach her everything, because as a society, we do not talk about fertility, periods,
Right.
our cycles nearly enough. Like, I didn't know what cervical fluid was until I was 28 years old. 20,
Yeah.
like, how?
No, I
How?
know. And it's so funny, Maddie, because this honestly comes up so often in conversations that I have with other women.
Mhm.
And it doesn't even really matter what generation. It's like, even people who are like, well, how old are you right now? Are you in your 20s or
I'm 32.
32? Okay. So yeah, people in their 20s, people in their 30s, people in their 40s, like me, even older, are like, still don't know, you know, or looking
Right.
back was like, wow, the education we got was like, don't get pregnant and you're going to get your period. And that was kind of the extent of it. Like, there's
That's
so,
it. And I think just us becoming, again, I've now taught my husband so much. I've taught my sisters so many things. Like, I think just openly discussing things. That's why, it's not easy to talk about your fertility journey on the internet to 50,000 people.
mm-hmm,
It's a very intimate part of your life. And it is, to some extent, talking about your sex life. You know what I'm saying? Like,
totally.
it's very personal, but I think it is so important to talk about some of these specifics and the nitty gritty of it, because it is educational. Like,
Right.
whether you have fertility problems or not, you should know when you're ovulating.
Right.
How did I get to 28 years old and just think that I could truly get pregnant any time of the month other than when I was on my period? That's
Yeah.
how I spent the first, 10 years of my sexually active life.
That was me between 16 and 40.
Right.
I
Right.
really
Like,
didn't
I
know.
was, and now as somebody going through fertility treatments, I'm like, we've got 2 days.
Right. Exactly. It's so small, such a small window. So wait, a couple things you said there. First of all,
Sure.
50,000 followers on Instagram. How does that even happen?
Just about. I'm just a little under 50,000.
Yeah,
I
but
truly don't know. There is no secret recipe to growing an audience or
right.
connecting with people online, but I feel like just really being honest
Mm-hmm.
has made it so that I can really connect with my audience. I'd be okay if I never grew past the 50,000, because I have like genuine connections with the people
Mm-hmm.
who choose to follow me. And it's bizarre sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
when you're talking about more personal things or sharing your true feelings, but it is such a way that it helps so many people. I have people message me and say, I found your account and cried
Right.
because you look like me, but
Right.
you're not unhappy. You're not hiding. You wear cute clothes. You live your life. And I cried. And I feel that, because that is why I started my own account, was because as a plus size woman, for the longest time, I waited to live my life. I waited to do all the things. I waited to buy the nice clothes or the cute handbag, because I was waiting to celebrate a weight loss accomplishment,
Mm-hmm.
or to get to a certain size, or to have been on a diet for XYZ amount of days, you
Right.
know? And having my son and going through fertility treatments has really opened up my eyes to the fact that not only can you not plan for the future, but you can't wait for the future to happen either. I spent my first 2 years trying to get pregnant with our second, waiting, like not
Right.
planning anything, because you're just in this constant, well, I'm going to get pregnant next week and
Right.
next month. It's going to be next month. And eventually you realize 2 years of your family's life has gone by and you've done nothing.
Absolutely. Yeah. When was the point where you realized, okay, I'm going to take matters into my own hands, just with the account, first of all, and starting, this whole, you've become such an influencer in so many different ways. And like I said, when I looked through your feed, I was like, you just glow. Like you have this glow about you, and it's
Thanks.
very attractive and it's very accessible too,
Thank you.
and authentic. The three is, and
I've
also,
been doing this for about 2 years now, just a little bit over 2 years is when I started my blog, was January 2018. And I honestly didn't start it to be like a plus size fashion blog or
Mhm.
even a body positive account at all. I was like, I'm going to be a mom blogger and talk about parenting. And then I realized I needed an escape from my
Mhm.
everyday life. I needed something other than motherhood and parenting to talk about. And as a plus size woman, or I guess maybe just as women in general,
Yeah.
when you are wearing something that's cute and accessible, people are like, oh, where'd you get that?
Right.
And in the plus size world, I still feel like there's a very large a gap in plus size fashion. It's either very, very pin up and sexy and, oh, like I'm going to celebrate my body in this almost sexualized way, which more power to you. Or there's like grandma fashion and it's
Right.
all covered up, super, super modest. And I'm a 32-year-old woman with a hot husband and I wanted to wear cute clothes, but I'm also a mom.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew once I decided to kind of make this way is that I just wanted to be a woman who wore cute clothes that happened to also be plus size.
Yeah.
That's the last thing that goes into my fashion choices is I want to be a stylish mother who lives in New
Absolutely.
York City.
And I love the notion of like not wanting to wait, not having to wait. Just the
Right.
time is now. Do it now. With so many people, such a big platform now, were you nervous to talk about infertility, or was it something that just kind of was a natural next step?
It's super nerve-wracking, especially because it's not just my journey alone. It's my husband's, and he's incredibly private, and I need to respect his boundaries. And
Mhm.
also, I'm very aware of how speaking about fertility, it's a very polarizing topic because you have people who have been through fertility treatments and are, potentially on the other side with their longed for baby, and then you have people who are not there yet. And whether I get to that point or not, you kind of exclude people. So
Yeah,
if and when we get pregnant with our second, I know that can very quickly push people away because it's hard to see. I have friends
hmm,
and good friends online who have gotten pregnant. And while I'm very happy for them, I'm still sad and it's still hard to follow along on their journey.
absolutely.
Despite the fact that it's not jealousy, it's not anger or resentment towards them, but it just reminds me how sad I am for myself. So
Yeah, I think a lot
it's
of people
hard,
can
it's
relate to that.
tricky,
Yeah,
and everyone's journey is different. And when you start talking about anything parenting related, whether you have the kid or not,
right.
everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a friend, Susan, who did this and that. And personally, like when I don't know if you feel this way too, but like when you're in it, there are times when you want to hear other people's stories. And then there's times where you're like, I didn't ask to hear about your
Right.
friend who got pregnant. That's not like I was just talking about how I had a miscarriage. I don't want to hear about your friend Susan who got pregnant
Right, Susan.
from taking XYZ thing that I've been taking for the last 4 freaking years.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I share a lot, but I also don't because I'm not a medical practitioner and every person is different.
Right.
So,
Yeah. You're exactly right. So, if you don't mind, can we talk about some of the details of what you've gone through? So, you had
sure.
your son, and then how long before you guys started to try for the second one?
So right before he turned 2, we were like, oh, yeah, well, it's back and forth. We didn't start actively trying until he was about 18 months, almost 2, but we also weren't strongly preventing that whole time postpartum. I
Mhm.
breastfed my son, so I was always just like, oh, it's just I'm breastfeeding, so that's why we haven't gotten pregnant.
Mhm.
I was totally okay with Irish twins, but figured it wouldn't happen because I was breastfeeding
Mhm.
exclusively. And so when I stopped breastfeeding, I was like, okay, so I'm going to start tracking my cycle and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't until about a year into it that like the first 6 months are fun, exciting, hopeful. And then the second 6 months, you're like, what?
Yeah.
Are we a cursing podcast?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. I never
Yes.
know if I can be like explicit or not.
Yes.
Okay. So I was like, what the fuck? Like, seriously? I got pregnant on my first try with the first one. And now here we are, 6 months into actively trying, and I haven't gotten pregnant.
Right. Absolutely.
Anyway, so after a year, I made an appointment to go see an RE because my sister, she also had fertility issues, male factor infertility, but she was always like, just go, just go.
Right.
But I ended up chickening out because I was fat, and I was like, they're just going to tell me that I need to lose weight. That's all they're going to say. So I didn't go, and I was like, I'm not going to go. We're just going to keep tracking, and I'm going to eat healthy and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to take all the supplements, and I'm not going to go because they're just going to tell me I'm fat anyways.
Really? So tell me a little bit more about that. Like, let's unpack that, because that's really interesting. Like,
it's super, super common in plus size men and women to avoid the doctor, because the blanket statement for truly every illness is if you lost weight.
Yes.
If you lost weight, then. If you lost weight, you wouldn't have gotten strep throat. Like, I have asked my audience for the craziest doctor if you lost weight stories. And I shit you not. I had somebody send me an email and say, hey, just wanted to respond, and sent me this lengthy post saying that she'd gone in for chronic headaches. And over again, her doctor was like, you just need to manage, your sugar intake, stop drinking caffeine, all this stuff, and lose weight. You need to lose weight, and it will make your headaches disappear. A year later, she went to her third doctor, and the doctor's like, oh my gosh, fine, we'll give you a CT scan. And she had a freaking brain tumor.
Wow.
For a year, doctors just kept telling her to lose weight. I had a member of my audience say, I went to the doctor and tested positive for strep throat, and the doctor said, if you weren't so overweight, you wouldn't have gotten strep throat.
No.
Yes. How fucking ridiculous is that?
Yeah. That's just lazy doctoring. Lazy medicine.
Medical care. And while, I sit here and talk about body positivity and health at every size is not promoting obesity or saying, hey, gain all the weight you want. It's demanding respect from the medical care industry.
Yes.
Regardless of your size. That is what the health at every size movement is about. It's I should get to go into the doctor and have every test run that a thin person would. And sure, you can go ahead and throw in lose some weight, but still give me every single test that you give a thin person, because I deserve the same quality medical care that somebody with a BMI of 20 does.
Absolutely. Oh my God. I'm so glad you just said that. Thank you for saying that. I think there's really a lot of people out there that need to hear that. Yes.
And again, I have my best friend is a ER doctor, and he's like, do you really think that doctors are just saying that because do you really think that they're just trying to be offensive? And I'm like, it's not about being fucking offensive. It's that they're being lazy. Do something else. Fine. I walk into every doctor's appointment, and the first thing I say is, listen, I know I'm fat. Okay. I've been fat for 32 years. It's not news. Let's talk about something else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Doctors will sit there and be like, so have you ever thought about losing weight? Susan, I'm 32 and I'm fucking fat. I'm pretty sure I've thought about being on a diet since I was 6. Okay.
Right. Oh my God.
Let's not be condescending.
Right. Totally.
And lo and behold, the first time I did go into an RE, guess what they said? Have you thought about losing weight? Prior to any other questions.
Right.
Nothing about my family history, about my previous pregnancy. Oh, how long have you been trying?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I finally went in at 2 years of trying.
Wow. Okay. So you didn't want to go to the doctor for this very reason that you just explained for 2 years. Is that true? Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing.
So, there's the first year that we tried, and everyone says you need to wait your first year before you go to the doctor. And then I canceled that appointment. I waited a whole other year.
Wow.
Finally went to see a doctor. And the first question they said is, have you thought about losing weight?
What did you say?
And I was like, well, of course I've thought about losing weight, but I just okay. So backing up a little bit, as I finally have been told to lose weight for so long, I went to go talk to an endocrinologist specifically about weight loss surgery. And the doctor was like, listen, it's my job to prescribe weight loss surgery. Okay. But I'm telling you right now, it's really bad for your body. So if you plan to have more children, please do it prior to this.
Mm.
And she's like, and this is my job to do this. And I'm telling you, please don't if you want to have other kids.
Okay.
Because it's too hard on your body to have gone through that. You know,
Right.
yes, lots of people do it, but she's like, but please don't.
Yeah.
It's not safe.
Right.
So, you know, when the doctor, my would-be endocrinologist, RE, fertility doctor, said, have you thought about losing weight? I was like, that's why I'm here, because I can keep waiting to have kids while I keep waiting to lose weight, but I'm just waiting for the nothing that will happen. Like nothing is going to change. I'm the same way I was when I gave birth. Before I gave birth, I didn't gain any weight during my first pregnancy. Like I've been the same weight for the last 7 years.
Right. Okay.
Just, it's not going to do anything.
It's not a thing. Okay.
And so, and they were like, okay, great. And they did the whole fucking inpatient thing, all of the questionnaires, all of the lab tests. And then I go home and they call me back and they're like, hey, so just so you know, we're going to need you to lose 50 pounds before we'll do anything for you.
What?
And I was like, what the fuck is that whole thing for then?
Right.
Couldn't you have just told me that as we sat at the table before I went and did all the blood work, the ultrasound? Like, why the fuck did you put me through that? If you weren't even going to prescribe me like some metformin.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Nothing. So needless to say, I waited another 6 months before going to see another doctor.
Right. And I know you're like laughing right now and we're kind of joking around a little bit about it, but that must have been crushing, right? I mean, you must have been pissed. It is,
because you just feel like nothing you do is good enough. I mean, I can't tell you how many fucking rounds of Whole30 I've done. Again, I'm 32 and overweight. If you think I haven't done a diet, then you're smoking something I wish I was, because I've done it all.
Yeah.
And so it felt like no matter what I did, I was just going to be waiting for it all. So after that first appointment with an RE, I actually ended up getting pregnant miraculously on our own.
Okay.
And miscarried at 7 weeks, got pregnant again and miscarried at 9 weeks.
Oh,
back to back. Miserable.
Yeah.
And again, crushing, I call my OB. Well, you probably miscarried because you're overweight.
Oh my God.
Okay. Thanks.
Great.
And you know what? You're 7 weeks. We don't even count that as a pregnancy anymore. It's just a chemical. Don't even worry about it.
They said that?
Yes.
Harsh.
Right. Like I was like, I've been trying for 3 years now to get pregnant. And you're telling me that I finally got pregnant, but it's not even good enough to count as a miscarriage.
Yeah.
It was horrible. And
I remember sorry to interrupt, but I don't know if you listened to my episode at all, but I had 4 miscarriages. And I remember one of them I called and I was like, I'm bleeding. And the woman on the other line, it wasn't the doctor, but it was someone.
It's always the nurses.
She was just like, oh, you're probably miscarrying. Just, call us back tomorrow if you're still bleeding. And I was like,
that's
okay,
it?
But that's how you're going to say it? Like, it was so insensitive.
Right. And, again, like I said, they need to work on their delivery. They don't know you. They hear this all the time, but for you, the person going through it, it is soul crushing. Yeah. And it's just, again, I've never been as devastated as I was that first, second, third miscarriage. It's horrible.
So you ended up having 3 back to back kind of?
Yes. So now,
I'm sorry. Oh.
This third miscarriage, I just miscarried in February. And,
shit, this is new.
I know. So I found a new fertility doctor and I really like them. The clinic is very progressive. It seems they have, they do a lot of mini IVF. So low hormone things. They're trying to scientifically help you as naturally as possible. What a oxymoron, but they are, that's kind of their MO, but we've been doing some highly medicated IUIs and, because my husband is totally fine. Like his sperm is great. And obviously that makes him feel so fucking good about himself. We shouldn't need an IUI, but here we are doing it anyways. And after a few rounds, I got pregnant and I miscarried.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you go in and have the chat about, okay, what are your next steps? Are you going to go for IVF? Or, I'm fully preparing myself to say, we're going to do IVF. My husband's insurance now is required to cover 3 rounds of IVF. Anyways, so I'm fully prepared to okay, we're just going to go for IVF because now, again, we're approaching 4 years in June.
Mm-hmm.
So my kid is going to be 6.
Mm-hmm.
Our life looks so different than I had ever thought it was going to look.
Yeah. Yeah. My kids are 6.5 years apart. So I know that feeling. Yeah.
I'm sure they're amazing, right? It's always wonderful, but it's
yes, but I know what you mean. It wasn't the plan.
Right. So I go and talk to my doctor and he's like, hey, well, I'm just going to let you know that I really don't think you should do IVF because it's probably just a waste since you're overweight.
Wow.
I was like, are you kidding me? I've been here now for how many months, 6 months or something like that at this clinic. And now you're telling me you don't actually support my fertility journey?
Oof.
Really?
Yeah.
And he's like, we can totally discuss it, but I think you're just better off having a few more IUIs. And
so what is the specifics? Did they think that your body's not going to react well to the drugs, or what is the difference with the weight thing?
It's because they don't want to, and this is the thing, they don't want to put you under general anesthesia because of quote unquote increased risks with being overweight and general anesthesia. Generally, those are when you have secondary problems like diabetes, respiratory issues, which I have none of. I have the lowest blood pressure on the face of the planet, always. Great cholesterol. I'm, have an amazing insulin. What is that? A1C level. Whatever. I don't have any signs of. If you looked at my blood work, you'd think I was a skinny bitch. That's pretty much what it says.
So it's just the anesthesia thing then.
It's
so
for
the retrieval.
So, after I was like, well, I really, I'm feeling very stuck. I really want to move forward with that. I don't want to have another miscarriage, and waiting for, I didn't do a DNC, but I did do, I don't know. So I took some drug at home and then did a home collection kit so that we could test my most recent miscarriage for chromosomal abnormalities.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually have a call with my doctor tomorrow to discuss that. So
okay, so you haven't gotten those results.
DVD. Anyways, he's like, we can do the retrieval awake. You can do the retrieval awake, which I know lots of people do. It's not as common as being put under, but he's like, we'll just give you a Xanax or whatever it is, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. It's uncomfortable. But he's just like, you got pregnant, you have a perfectly healthy kid, and the tolls that IVF can take on your body, whether you're fat or thin, it's a lot on a body. And I totally get that. So because we got pregnant the one time, he's like, I don't want to put your body under any unnecessary stress, especially because you have existing risks with your weight or your, what did he say? Well, I don't know, something about my BMI. I'm like, okay, great. Sounds good. He's really nice. And he does his delivery is definitely not condescending or anything like that. So I feel like a lot of doctors, they have responsibilities. They have things they're required to say. So I think maybe some of it is just, he's required to say these things listen, we have to tell you that you're at an increased risk because of your high BMI.
Right.
But anyways, that was all prior to the drama that has kicked off now. So everything is paused.
So everything's on hold. So yes, let's talk about that too, because obviously we're in the middle of coronavirus madness. A lot of people's cycles have been postponed or canceled. So
sad.
That's where you guys are at right now too, just kind of wait and see.
Right. So I had an appointment to go in last week, and you're in New York, right?
I am. I live in Williamsburg. Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like we've tried to be a little bit ahead of things, and yet some people are totally behind. But my clinic called and they said, hey, we know you're just coming in for a routine monitoring appointment and to talk about your monthly plan. We're just letting you know that most likely we're going to pause or cancel all cycles. So probably don't come in if you don't want to. And
when did they say that?
Last week.
Okay.
And my son was already home from school for forever.
Right.
never to go back. And
Is he in kindergarten or first?
He's in kindergarten.
Okay. Yeah.
So, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel so bad for all of the women who are mid-cycle or we're waiting on a fresh transfer or, like that don't get to continue because all elective procedures have been put on hold.
I know. It's crushing
to have put your body through so much and your heart. Like, this is so emotionally draining.
Yes.
Every single month to go through the same roller coaster of emotions.
Not to mention financially, a lot of people are paying out of pocket and
it's so much.
They just wasted, tens of thousands of dollars on a cycle that was canceled mid-cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So I
mean, I always say that going through fertility treatments is the definition of insanity because you're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Right.
You're getting the same result every time. So it's really driving you.
Yeah. And it's so out of your control, ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so much you can do.
Right. And it's just such a waiting game on, I think my last cycle that I went in, and I was just doing IUI, but I ended up going in because I was like, my follicles just weren't growing. So they just kept giving me drugs. And I went in 6 times in an 8-day period because they're just waiting. Like, I can't imagine the amount of daily pressure it is to do an IVF cycle.
Yeah.
With, how much monitoring and almost it's great to have information, but you almost get so much information that it's overloading in your brain.
Absolutely. That's a perfect way to describe it too. It's like too much sometimes. And you're just like, short circuit. Like, So just to clarify, you never actually did do like traditional IVF, right? It was just
we haven't done that yet. That's going to be
how many IUIs?
4.
Okay.
So we've done 4. We did 2 medicated timed intercourse cycles, and then we did 4 IUIs, the last of which I got pregnant and miscarried. So again, we'll see if it's if anything was the cause. And, my doctor was like, honestly, I hope that it was just not a healthy, if everything comes back normal, that's your best case scenario, because that means, if it was chromosomal, we would push for something like IVF because things are a little bit easier to control there. But I don't know. I don't know what I'm hoping for, honest to God, because again, it's just, I don't know.
No, I totally know what you're saying. And I think that sometimes, like, I remember when I was in the middle of it too, it was like, I just wanted someone to tell me what to do at certain points. Cause I was like,
how long it was going to take.
Right.
Can you just tell me how many rounds of this I'm going to have to go through?
Yeah. Like
how old my kid will be, how old will I be?
Exactly. If you have some sort of answer, you can at least kind of mentally prepare or like wrap your head around it.
Isn't that how we feel about coronavirus?
Right. Exactly. So let me ask you.
We're crazy.
Right. How are you and your husband doing through all this? Like, has it affected your relationship? And you don't have to get into personal stuff that you
No, totally. I think the second year was really hard because again, the first year you're still hopeful. And then the second year you're just crushed. And it feels that second year for our marriage was really hard because it totally feels like a chore. We weren't seeing a doctor, so it still just felt like, again, running around a circle over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It's actually gotten a lot better, I feel like, because we are kind of putting our future in somebody else's hands. So it's not quite as much pressure on us. It's whatever. But then, I mean, as less pressure as it can be, you just feel like somebody else is telling you when is the time, they're in charge of it. And for the most part, they're going to be the ones who make it happen. So it gives you a little sense of relief, or at least it has for me. And miscarrying is really hard, I think, on a marriage, because as the woman, you feel more because it was your body. And, after you've miscarried the one time, I don't know how I'll make it to 40 weeks if I ever get pregnant again, because every single time you go to pee, it's like, okay, am I going to be bleeding?
Yeah.
Every single cramp or twitch, it's like, is
I
this the
know.
end?
Mhm.
And the anxiety and stress that you tell yourself not to feel
Right.
is truly like all consuming.
Right.
And I think it's hard on our spouses to not be able to truly support us because they can't. Like, nobody can make you not feel those feelings or
Exactly.
take the weight off of feeling like you were responsible for that.
Right. And because it's a legit fear, like the thing you said about going to the bathroom, not wanting to see
Mhm.
blood. I've talked about that a bunch of times too, because that's how I felt. I remember being like, please no blood, please no blood.
Yep.
And
Every single time you pee.
sometimes I still get that. Like when I wipe and there's no blood, I have this relief. And then I'm like, wait,
Yep.
I'm not even in that anymore, but it's like
Right.
PTSD.
Yep. Totally.
Yeah.
It's just, nobody can feel what you're feeling. And everyone handles these things differently,
Hmm.
but it is really hard when quite a few of your friends may possibly be going through, I have quite a few friends also that are going through fertility treatments. And then,
Hmm.
like you were the one to get pregnant and then you never actually told them yet because it was early, and oh my God, that's going to hurt people's feelings. And how
Hmm.
is that? But then you're like, I need my friend because I'm fucking falling apart. And
Yes.
hey, by the way, it's because I was pregnant. Sorry to hurt your feelings. I got pregnant, but now I'm not anymore. Like, how do you tell people that?
Yes, exactly.
How do you tell somebody that, or my friends who aren't in the fertility arena
Right.
and
Who are just getting pregnant easily.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or just feel like they end up feeling left out, like, oh my God, why didn't you tell me that you went through that? And you're like, because I never told you that I was pregnant to begin with. So how would you even, like, you can't feel the sadness that I feel because you never got to feel the joy for me even.
Hmm.
It's just, oh hey, the world was pulled out from under me.
Yeah.
It's really hard to support people. And I've gone through it and I still struggle,
Yeah.
like knowing truly how to support people because everybody needs differently.
Right. And everybody has a different way to be comforted or talk about
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Is there anything else that you've learned so far along the way that you could share, or like words of
Don't be
encouragement?
like me. Don't wait to go to the doctor. I wish that I had found a supportive doctor at that year mark instead of waiting for the 3-year mark to find
Mhm.
somebody who was going to help me. That was a huge mistake. And if if you have any hesitation at all or you think you're having problems, just fucking lie and say you've been trying for 12 months. Like, just go.
Right.
Because
They
I
don't
really think
know.
that if
Yeah.
anybody has been trying for 6 months, you might need a little, like sperm wash just to help things. It's better
Absolutely.
to be proactive than not.
Yes.
And regardless, again, this is how I felt post all of my miscarriages because I've been told that my fertility struggles revolve around my weight, as I've felt truly responsible for
Mm.
all of them. Like, I miscarried because I was fat. If
Oh,
I wasn't fat, I wouldn't have miscarried. And you carry all of this guilt over
yeah.
your body. And again, I know that thin women feel that responsibility too. I'm sure you felt like you did something. There was some jog you went on,
Yes.
or like, what did I do to cause this? But when you feel at fault for your existence, like just your being is the reason you miscarried, it's really, really hard. And I think having a supportive doctor who can really remove that shame from all
Yeah.
of your appointments will help a lot, because like, I am a living test. I have a beautiful 5.5-year-old. I
Yes.
had 0 pregnancy. Like, he was 41 plus 5 and 6 pounds, like
Mhm.
textbook pregnancy that everybody was waiting for me to fail.
Wow.
Everybody was waiting it was miserable the whole time because every single doctor I saw would be like, so you have gestational diabetes? And I'm like, no. Oh my
Oh.
gosh. So how's your blood pressure? And I'm like, well, I'm about to pass out. It's so low.
Yes.
Like, I may be fat, but that doesn't mean that my pregnancy is going to fail, or that, like, you're at fault for your fertility issues. There's so
Absolutely.
many other working cogs, and you deserve to have a doctor and a clinic who supports you. So
Yeah.
I guess I'm on the fence myself about what do I do going forward, but
Right.
I guess so much will be determined when we
When the
make that
world
move to
goes,
IVF, right?
yeah. When the world goes back to normal,
Right? Isn't it
or whatever normal is anymore. I don't even know, but
it's so hard to feel like every month is, and it is such a huge deal. I mean, I know I'm young for the fertility world, but I feel like 4 years later, I'm an old maid. And each month that goes by, you know, my husband gets a month older, I get a month
Yeah.
older, and my son does. And to know that I'm not going to be making any progress for the next 3 or 4 months is disappointing, to say the least. So I can't imagine how some other people must be feeling right now.
Yeah. Oh, I wish we were in person. I wish I could give you a big hug. I
We need
love
to
your
play.
message and I love your attitude. And I'm
Thanks.
sorry that you're going through this, but I would love to keep in touch and let me know what
Yes.
you guys. And I'm rooting so hard for you. And
Fingers crossed for us all out there, right?
absolutely.
Like, it's the most depressing club to be a part of, but also it is one of the
Yes.
most uplifting too. Like,
Yes.
people.
I have to send you my sweatshirt that says Worst Club, Best Members.
Yes. Oh my God. I've never even heard that slogan before, but now I need it.
Yes, I will send you one. That's my little tagline for this
That
whole
is the fucking best.
infertility journey. It is. It's the worst club with the best members. So
It is so true. I love that so much.
Thank you guys so much for listening to my conversation with Maddy. Maddy, I adore you, and I'm so glad we met. And like I said, I'm completely rooting for you guys for whatever happens next. I hope it's amazing. So thanks again. I also wanted to say people have been asking if I'm going to keep doing the podcast through what's going on in the world right now with everything being upside down. And the answer is emphatically yes. This community that we've built, I appreciate and adore you all and love you all. So I don't want the content to stop. I want these stories to keep coming out. I know this is like one consistent thing that I've gotten some messages from people that are like, please keep it coming. It's like my source of comfort. So I really appreciate that. And I'm glad that I can do that for you guys. So it's not going to stop. And I will talk to you guys next week. Thanks.